So we're super excited. We have a fantastic person who is willing to give back during this very difficult time in a way that he is truly an expert in. And we're so excited to have you, Matt. Thank you for doing this. Just to give everyone a background here on who Matt is, he is a certified resume writer, a career coach, and outplacement expert with over 15 years in human resources and career advancement techniques. He manages MJW careers and provides assistance to companies in transition from downsizes to buyouts, as well as individual job seekers needing to advance their careers. I've seen MJW's reviews and they are fantastic. A lot of success comes out of working with Matt and his team. You know, he's got a long history in HR, but some of the things that we want to cover today before Matt jumps in here is that we want to talk about the fundamentals of a winning resume. There's a lot of challenges, obviously. I'm sure many of you have applied for jobs and have quickly realized, like, what is going on? Why are these jobs that you're applying for and you're getting like robotic messages back from the jobs? He's going to walk us through what an applicant tracking system is, and a few items that are essential for job seekers to include in their CVs and resumes, as well as some cover letter creation and fundamentals, and how job seekers can find opportunities during this global crisis. That's a big one here, obviously, as we're going through the challenges of this pandemic. Applying for jobs has been definitely challenging, and we're thankful that he has expertise in this and can help us navigate that a little better. And then a couple of best practices to consider when doing a webcam interview. Obviously, that is relevant, and Zoom has a lot of issues, and if you know, like I experienced multiple times, I've used Zoom so many times and it seems like I can never get it quite right. So he will walk us through best practices and any workarounds to find a job through the back door. If you'd like to take the floor, Matt, I know you want to share your screen and we're super excited to have you. I want to mention we have Joseph Hermes here, who is the founder and organizer of this event through the Assyrian Community Fund. We are very excited that he was able to facilitate this. So thank you, Joseph. And Matt, please feel free to take the floor here.
Thank you. And I will admit it's my first time trying to share a screen
worries.
with hosting a Zoom, so I'm going to try my best here. And I am going to choose to show a, let's see if this works. Does that work?
That works.
Everyone can see Sharada.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I still see me. So this is the before resume, and okay, good. So I can navigate here. Okay, so here's the before resume, and I honestly, I'll try to keep this as simplistic and pragmatic as possible because honestly, I could talk for 5 hours and overload you, but I just want to get into some things that might stick with you and takeaways for today when you leave the call that you can immediately implement into your resume and just kind of help punch it up a little bit for yourself. Let's just get a brief review right here. So you're looking at this. Can you see my mouse? Can I like?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so obviously these are just covering up some confidential things, but this resume is what we call infographic. This one is a nightmare for applicant tracking systems. And I'm going to bounce around a little, but honestly, after the call, if any of you are wondering what the heck I was talking about, feel free to personally reach out to me. We'll provide the credentials later, but no problem sending more insights. But wrap your head around the idea of the applicant tracking system. It's not this anomaly that you need to be confused with. It's literally, it's just a way the recruiters can manage their workflow. All it is them taking a resume from Google, from Career Builder, from wherever, putting it into a software system that they can later retrieve that candidate. Now, when you have the system, and if you're working with a bunch of recruiters, everyone's adding candidates, it becomes big, right? You get 10,000 people in there at the end of a few years. So how are they going to sift through and find that one gem that was there X amount of time ago? They have to use those keywords, and that's where the applicant tracking system will then score or rank your resume, saying how many keywords are relevant towards this role in your resume. And don't panic. They are not, invisible. They're not something you got to think like in terms of, real outside the box. They are only working with the initial job descriptions themselves. They're not inventing words and processes and things for you to do in the work site. So look at the job description, look at some of the words they're using in it. Are those in your resume? And if so, how often? And how good are you at those particular skills? So just that's kind of the quick end of the applicant tracking system is how high do you rank based off your words that match with the job description. That easy. There's nothing much more complicated than that. In terms of getting ranked and finding scores about how well you match up, there are software sites out there. I will lean towards the non-using side of it because I just personally don't like a lot of them because it seems like they're just trying to pitch you their resume services at the end of it. But there are some out there that you could probably find that are relevant. Again, I have to do my own research with this, but I try to stay away from the ranking thing and just be pragmatic about it. Again, logical approach. Let me get some of these words into my resume and go from there. Okay, so that's the first foremost applicant tracking system. Having said that, this resume is no good because when I go to do this and I go to copy and paste all this into this applicant tracking system that adds Sharada as a candidate, all this becomes jumbled. This all of a sudden's over here, this is over there. And then what do I do as an upset recruiter who's on candidate 50 of the day and I'm tired and I want to go home? I just move on. I just don't even have the patience. And I have done that before because I just didn't see a punched up resume that was even remotely logical in any sense. So if you keep logical when you approach developing your resume, if you mind your P's and Q's, don't do anything outside the box where it's going to get you in trouble. Like having a picture on your resume, do not do that. We're not in Europe where it's more applicable. In the US, having a picture in a resume will only hurt you. It's not going to get you the interview. It might deter you, though, from one. I've never been in an interview room where they go, this person looks really cool. Look at that photo. Let's get them in. It doesn't work like that. So just be pragmatic about your approach. If you're not crinkling the forehead of the reader, you're halfway there, right? So now they just want to see if you're a match. So having said all this, when I see this, immediately I'm turned off because it's an infographic. Even though if it looks cool and it looks organized, it really is a lot harder to work with in the background. I will show you the one I punched up. This is the before, and I do want to note, if you see here, look what the candidate did. Didn't even realize I have a page 2 that's blank. These are little things that will get you into trouble. Some recruiters could care less. They just want to know you're good for the job and they'll move on. But then the some that do care, they have the keys to the kingdom of some really good opportunities. Now you're fighting against them, and they don't want to see it like that. So spell check, grammar check, full sentences. This person has bullets in the middle of their sentence. Like this is a bullet that this came to me like this. Like that should not happen. This thing right here, look at that spacing issue. I mean, I didn't invent this. This is how it came to me. 2019, the present is fine, but does it line up with this? No, that says fall, and that says fall. So, just keep it consistent. August 2019, then put down over here, September 2019. Just keep it consistent throughout. This part's not bad. This is kind of how we set up technical aptitude, breaking it down, and you'll see in my after. So anyway, here's the before, okay? And I'll get into some of the specifics, and then here's the one I punched up. Okay, so here's how the resume breaks down. First and foremost, name on top, obviously. Contact information. This is sufficient. If you have a portfolio, feel free to add the link at the end here. GitHub/whatever. If you have an online portfolio, that's fine up here. You don't need your address. We live in the world of privacy issues constantly with scammers and spammers and everybody alike. No more addresses on record. If you want to put a city and state, that's fine. If you live in Chicago and you only want to work in Chicago, you ain't going anywhere else, then feel free to put Chicago IL and one of these little things. I wish I knew the name of them because I talk about them all the time. Spacers, I don't know. But you put one of those and then you get the rest of it, okay? Summary. This is in 3 parts, and I just got to see here. Summary, 3 sentences. Who you are, what you can achieve and how you can achieve it is essentially how we set up a summary. That's what these 3 sentences are. I won't read it. I can send this to you after the call if you want to. But after this summary, core competencies. These are your little buzzwords. These are the ones that is directly from the job description. Okay, this is where you can put them here, or you can put them in its own little section, like it'll just say, you know, skills, and then you can list them here if you want. But I chose to do this for the saving space, is to put them right here. As long as they're in there, as long as they can see you're kind of talking the talk, you're kind of working within their realms of what they do. This is going to be an immediate way to capture interest, having this kind of buzzwords. Since your early career, I'm assuming a lot of you folks are early career, education's fine up front, okay? But if you are over the, you know, if you're like mid-career, like, you know, maybe 3 to 5 years plus, this goes down here, right in front of the technical aptitude.
Sorry to interrupt here, but we have a variety of all on the spectrum, early, mid, late.
Okay.
You know, we've got everyone, just so that you know that. I didn't mention that at the beginning.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so essentially then early career education is fine here. Later career, put it right down here in front of technical aptitude. How I set my education up is we don't need this section, and I see this constantly. I believe, see, like this person even has it as 2 lines. There is no need to take up that much space with education. They just want to verify the BS right here. If it's a mandatory to have a BS, they're moving on. This is, you know, that's half the time they don't even look at this. But I would keep the GPA on there if you have over a 3.0, because again, space, you can get it there and it doesn't do anything. It takes up just enough amount of space. So graduation year, I only keep on if I'm entry level. I call it early career. So if you graduate within the last, you know, 2-3 years, that's about your limits. After you're in the workforce for about 3+ years, you can drop the graduation date. Training. I like to clump my training because a lot of folks might have like SQL training, then the next line, Python training, then the next line, Tableau. That's a lot of line. So I do coding training, comma, list some training. It's that kind of easy to see. It's quick, and it's 1 line, and it's 4 training sessions. You can see other examples I can give you after the call that say like you have certain like an SQL and then comma the governing body. I've seen that, you know, and then you have this little spacer, Python, comma, whatever governing body you got it from. That's acceptable too. No need to add a year for your training. If they are requesting recent kind of expertise on something, you can maybe squeeze it in, say like there's a new software that you know you've got some good edge on. Not a lot of people have any capabilities with it, and you just got the cert. You could put that down as a year. Again, I kind of avoid all years for any sort of education or certification, but you can always squeeze it in if you have the space and if it's relevant to put it down. In that case, a new skill set you just developed, it's fresh, you can put 2020 down. If you are in progress of receiving training, you can put a little parenthesis here after BI, say like it's BI, and you're just you're finishing training in the fall. You could put a parentheses in progress, comma, fall 2020, end of parentheses. That's another way that you can add a date to any of those sections, only if it's relevant. Again, less is more, and if it's and as pragmatic as you can be. If it's logical to put a date in there, do it. But most of the time, hiring managers, they don't care when you got the Python, as long as you got it, you're pretty good at it. And they'll know during an interview. This is just to get you in an interview. Remember that. This is not the job. This is to get you in the interview room. Okay, next. This is going to be a big section here. This is key contributions. These also called accomplishments. These are your meat and potatoes, so to speak. The experience section is just as important, but this is the first real stuff they're going to see that is the goods. What did you do? How well did you do it? What impact did you have? So in terms of going through your experience, I always like to say, keep it where if it's a metric-based value, like you reduced waste 20%, you improved efficiency 30%, you cut costs, you max or built revenue, you reduced employee churn, or turnover, and these are called business quantifiers. These are ways you impacted the bottom line with what you had done in that role. So if you are an administrative assistant and you are monitoring the executive calendars and that kind of thing, think in terms of KPIs that you have been responsible for. And if you're not even sure what they are, think in terms of what have you been doing to kind of save some money here and there, or complete projects on time. Maybe you maybe you've negotiated with vendors to get a cheaper hotel during this meeting that everyone's going to. Well, now you saved $2,000 because you decided to negotiate better rates with the vendor. These are little things that relate to what impact you've had. Even if you don't think it was significant, there are quantifiable ways to put every sentence on your resume. There's a way to say everything in a quantifiable way. So what we did here for him, being that he's entry level as a data scientist, we kind of brought in some of these things that he had learned through his experience, although it's minimum, still a little bit of hands-on experience as a researcher, some stuff he did as an academia member that were project-based, but still some really tangible stuff. And we kind of put it up here. So if he, let's see if a good line here, like right here, gained proficiency with widely used practices of data manipulation and integrity, including boxcocks and scatter plots. These are words that hiring managers and recruiters are going to look for when they're looking for a data scientist. Boxcocks, scatter plots, Poisson regression, Bayesian statistics. These are things that make you different from a salesperson, or you different from a teacher, or what I mean? So think in terms of ways to quantify this, or at least get these words on there. These can easily go in your skills section if you really can't think of a long line like this, like a sentence like this. I'm able to kind of do these after doing this for 15 years, but if as long as these words are on there, that's helping you. It's making you more visible in your rankings, a little bit higher on the ranking list. Again, if this is your meat and potatoes, this is kind of your appetizer to get you there, that they're going to go, oh, okay, cool, look at these really good accomplishments. Okay, what have they been doing? And in this person's case, if you're entry level, these are a lot of projects. I kind of clumped them together. Initial one, I didn't clump them, but the client wanted them clumped, and I was fine with it. It just kind of makes them look like a job hopper. So I told them, hey, as you go forward in your career, you're going to have to clean this up, down the road, because we don't want to make you look like a job hopper either. And again, they can see all these are projects because it's project member. So it's all college stuff. And then here's this one real world thing. So when you're doing your experience sentences, again, this is you think in terms of accomplishments, okay? But think in terms of, it's called PAR, problem, action, result. Okay, you're in the project, you're in the workforce right now at a company. There's a project, there was an issue. You were the one who did something to rectify the issue, okay? And then what was the outcome of it? Okay, take that thought and try to jam it into a one sentence line. That's what I do. This is why I get paid. I take this whole soliloquy or narrative of a project and just jam it into a one sentence. So, and make it fluent. I mean, you got to make it interesting too. So think of those projects. Think of ways that you saved the team, or you were able to, keep the workflow going. Maybe save the client that was important, or save the vendor from leaving you. I mean, there's just so many variables that you can go with. But again, what is the problem? What was the action you took? And what was the result of that? Now, a lot of resume writers, and this is how I write too, is that, you wanted accomplishments based, right? Like we said, those business quantifiers, those ways to improve revenue or ways to cut costs or whatever. But I always like to take mine a step further and think in terms of value you're offering. It's good to have the accomplishment, okay? You need that bare bones minimum, no more tasks. If you have a line in there that says, did accounting for the manager, it's not good enough. What did you do for that manager as an accountant, and how did it impact the bottom line? Okay, so get to this mentality of bottom line thinking. Problem, action, result. What's the value? What's those business quantifiers that you can use that either saved them money or made them money or whatever. But remember, hiring managers right now, in this, well, pre-corona, I mean, we're talking, up until January, hiring managers were all they care about was, can you make them money or are you going to lose them money? And if you're losing them money, you ain't going to be there. So these are the realities of it. Now, I hope things might change a little in terms of the recruitment process after this corona thing. But for now, you got to know that they're being specific about that. They want to know if you are thinking in terms of money, in terms of business, because they want a business-minded person in their line, in their workforce. Now, having said that, with this, again, I don't know, everyone's going to have different resumes, and everyone's going to have different layouts and this different such, but it's a pragmatic thing. I mean, you're looking at contact, summary, set the tone, education, training, any sort of membership. Right here, you could put it in bold. You could put member, comma, American Heart Association, dash, American Marketing Association, dash, American Society for Women Engineers, dash, whatever. All your memberships, okay? Keep it clean. Then you come down here, some accomplishments, preferably metric-based, as far as, data. And then what you did, what your experience section, what were your home run things that you did there? Not your tasks, but what did you do? And if you have to go task-based, try to make it quantifiable at least, even if there's no number. Again, reduced waste by researching best practices and building a testing apparatus or whatever, you know what I mean? So think in terms of what quantifier does it relate to that you did. And then finally, and I'm sorry, this thing keeps getting in the way. It's throwing me off. Let me get there. Again, this is no different from what he had initially. He set it up actually exactly how we do. Keep it organized. Applications, programming. He's got this thing, theoretical, conceptual. But again, if you have technical aptitude for my IT people, keep it organized. Don't try to jam it all into one thing. And moreover, for anybody who's in IT, just a quick one-off, don't try to jam all this stuff up here. It's good to sprinkle it in, but you will bog down a reader if they start here, and by the time they get to here, all they see is acronyms. Military, my military folks that that transition into civilian work, that's the biggest part of their cleanup is let's get all these, I mean, you should see them. There's just handfuls of acronyms, and you're going to lose the reader real quick if they don't know what the heck they're reading. As far as the rest of the experience section, I really, for me, I hope I'm explaining it, articulating it well enough. But for me, it's like I see it and it's so easy, but I know it's kind of like, and it's a lot. I mean, this is why there's a whole business of us out here trying to help people with resumes, because there's a lot to it. But I know there's gonna be some FAQs afterwards. So if you want to be specific about anything, let me know. I'll kind of try to translate more, or just after the call offline. I don't mind sharing some more. But that kind of handles the resume portion. Again, this is the meat and potatoes, these right here. When I was a recruiter, I would go from here all the way to here right away and go, okay, what the heck have you been doing? So remember, that's the goal, is to impress them with your experience the most, because they want to hire someone, frankly, they want to hire someone that came from the competitor doing the same job so they could just move on from this opening and keep working. But they know that that's not always ideal. So they got to kind of, sift through some resumes. Next, the cover letter. Is there anything that you need to mention now before I move on to cover letter?
Does anyone have any questions specifically about the resume that he had? It was very, very well done. The after was very well done, Matt. Great job with that.
Thank you.
And I love your headers as well. I have yet to see the contributions. I really like that. The alternative being accomplishments. Very unique headers and very eye-catching and easily identifiable and understandable. So does anyone have any questions here with these particular resumes he has, or anything relevant to your own? I think I can unmute you, or you can raise a hand, I think. Does anyone have any questions?
I do not.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Well, you're gonna keep going, Matt.
Okay, so the cover letter. I will be frank. I never read them as a recruiter, and it's only because I was more of a staffing recruiter. So we were, twice as busy, I would say, because we're dealing with a whole slew of candidates and different types of things going on in a staffing house. But hire managers that read them want them. Recruiters that read them want them. So when people, I don't care how many articles you read about, are they relevant or are they not? If you're a job seeker, get a cover letter so you play the game. And this will never change. You have to play the game because the people that want to read them prior to reading your resume or opening your resume have a purpose and a reason for that. And sometimes it's to understand your way of writing or sometimes the way you're thinking. And this is the only document you can put eyes in it. There's an eye right there. It's the only time you can have a little personality. This should all be professional. The only personality here is this: analytical, innovative, detail-oriented, critical thinking, and logical. These are all called soft skills. And the only results focused and coachable. These are all soft skills. The only time you use them on a resume and the only place you use them on a resume. This should all be like you're writing a textbook, but friendlier. It should not be, it shouldn't be casual. They don't know you. They're going to spend $100,000 or $50,000 or $25,000 on you. They're not trying to be your friend right away. And so play the game. And this is where I'll kind of go through the cover letter. Here's kind of how we set ours up. I was thinking something with the PhDs. I knew there's some PhD people in here. Once you acquire it, get that on here. That goes for any sort of certification that will benefit you in your field. So if it's something that, if this person's going for something that is going to be a doctorate level, this is good to have on here. Now, if you are like for instance, I was a certified recruiter for Google's something or another. I used to have one of these on here that I removed because I'm not a recruiter anymore. Now I'm a resume writer. So now I just keep my resume writing credentials on there. So keep it on there if it's still relevant. PMP if you're still in a project management. If you're not in a project management and you have a PMP and you want to get into teaching, you can get rid of the PMP. You can keep it on your experience section, or your education certs. Don't leave it from there. Keep it on there, but you can drop it from here. Early career is a little technique I used for anyone who's entry level. I like it better than the word entry level, but you can always put down stuff like aspiring or early career if it's something that you're either moving into, you've never done, or if you're just out of school and this is your only first time getting a job. If you're seasoned, kind of accomplished person, you don't need this soft skill. You can just have online teaching professional. Okay, so setting the tone, we kind of just set it up real quick as being, hey, as a person with the exact title you're hiring for, hey, I have multiple years of experience doing that. Please accept my resume. This little line here I add in if you're entry level. It's nice to tell them right away, you just earned something. You don't need it really if you're seasoned, unless they mandate a degree in the job description, like a PhD or a MS, like a master's, and you have that, you can mention it because most job seekers are about bachelor level or below. Once you get above that, you can preach a little bit about it, depending on the job. If it's a job where it doesn't really matter, then don't worry about it. But if it's one that might sell you up a little bit more, add that on there. This is going to be a little bit of the, personality of like nice, like you're being nice, like, hey, I'm motivated and I got this great, these great work ethic and some great skills. And, I was even educated through online university, so I understand the platform. This is kind of just telling them like your soft skills and your kind of way to navigate yourself into that room. And then bam, you hit them with actual contributions. Look at these. You asked for training, I've trained. You asked for QA, I could do that in metrics. Look at this. I've done, learning. I can develop training and I can teach it then, and I can oversee it and create presentations and yada, yada. So pick some really good transferable contributions or actual ones you've done that relate to this next role. Get them on there. This, I probably could have leaned off about 2 of these. You probably only need about 4. I think I got a little excited that day or whatever, but 4 is fine. You don't need much more than that. Even 3, I've seen 3 is fine. But make them 3 really impactful ones. If you can train, 15 staff members instead of multiple, throw the 15 in there. Exceeded QA scores by 58% and budgeting metrics by 68%. There you go, even better. So the more KPIs you can sprinkle in, those metrics, the better. People love seeing percentages and dollar signs when they're reading resumes and stuff. At the end, kind of hit it home with one last bit of, kind of niceties, and say, hey, don't forget these types of skills I bring. And not only that, I have the utmost respect for confidentiality and ensuring I keep things moving smoothly. Let me know if I can get an interview. You're kind of like, that's it. It filters out. And I always do this nice little cursive look. I think Lucinda handwriting, I think it's called. But again, yeah, little closing line, my knowledge and hands-on exposure to the industry have prepared me well. Customize this, the bolds, name of the position, name of the company. I know you want to send off 20 applications a day, but take your time, because each one, if the job matters to you, which it should, because I wouldn't apply to them if it didn't then, never do you want to just throw it against the wall and hope it sticks, or else you might get into something you don't like. But if job matters to you enough, you will customize these, because guess what? Your competition is. And no matter what you hear from anybody in the world, whether they're an authority or whatever, there's always going to be competition, and you need to play the game as best as you can against those types of people that are doing the good things like that. So that's the cover letter. Again, it doesn't have to be as long-winded either. This one I picked because it was a little bit more thought out. I try to do about a half a page, try to squeeze some of this down a little bit. He was a little bit different of a case in terms of his intentions, so I wanted to make sure I met those through that. But yeah, as you can see, when it starts with this, not bad, it's visual, but and then you kind of but make it professional. You're a data scientist. You're not a graphic designer. They don't want, this does nothing for them. Are you going to be doing these all day at your job? No, you're boring. You're a data scientist. Go live in your hole and do your coding. So this is where you need it to be if you're a professional. If you are a graphic designer on this call, this is fine. We'll talk later. Hit me up later about it. But you're a whole nother world and a whole nother beast. It's the only people, like graphic design, any of those creative people, it's a little different. And the ATS, I don't know how they customize it to those types of work, but they do something, because they need something that's a little more visually appealing, but not a data scientist. Let's keep it pragmatic and professional. Again, that's the cover letter. So going back to, and I'll just keep up, I guess, this is fine. Let's keep that up there. So going back to some backdoor options, and that's it for the cover letter. If there's any questions, feel free to ping me on that. The cover letter isn't that, shouldn't be that bad. You could probably find templates online for these too. These you should never do a template with. This should be customized. These can be a little bit templatey, just plug and play a couple things here and there. So as far as now the backdoor ways of getting a job, I kind of wrote this out. So we'll just kind of go through it. It's easier to just show you like this, but create a list of targeted companies, okay? Choose 5. And then if you can avoid Google and like Apple, that's even better, because again, those entities I couldn't even tell you how to get hired into there. Everything is a mystery, and it should be. Everyone wants to work there, so they have to be kind of close knit in hiring. It's who you know to get into those kind of roles. If not, you just got to kind of stumble correctly into the right reader and kind of go through the process. But everybody I've helped get into Google, they've told me it's nuts. But create a list of targeted logical companies, and socialize your target list. Write it on paper, create a spreadsheet, whatever works for you and your network. Okay, socialize your target list. Okay, to your network. So that means just kind of get it together and start figuring out people at these targeted companies, and we'll work on that in a second. After you socialize it, create an elevator pitch. Okay, something 15 seconds or less. It's going to be something that is going to be a cold email. So I have a best practices link for elevator pitches. I can also put out there after the call. That'll explain it. I don't want to get into it now because it is definitely a 15-minute conversation, but elevator pitches are essentially how long it takes to get up an elevator. And so if you meet somebody and you want to tell them what you do, this is your quick knee-jerk reaction of telling them who you are and what you're trying to do. So make it professional, but make it quick. I mean, you're coming at them with zero, they don't know you at all. So Make it concise and poignant. And that could be a little tricky. You might have to outsource that if you're not a good writer. But I mean, I do them as well. But a lot of people will do them for you. Next, ask for connection to someone who works at that company, at that targeted company. If you ask them for that, they will help you. Most likely, and it's only because you're awesome elevator pitch. Ask them, hey, I saw something at your company. I'd like to set up a virtual cup of coffee with the referral, but do not ask them for their mailing address, okay? Do not forget to ask them for the mailing address. So after you get this pitch and you try to connect with someone at that company, set up a virtual meeting with that person to try to get a referral and ask them for the mailing address. Then send that brand new connection and targeted company a handwritten thank you note. It is amazing to me how we read these now because there's no mail anymore. So when we get mail, we're excited. And this is actually what I did as a recruiter. I could not believe how many resumes I opened because I just had nothing to do for 5 minutes. And I was like, this is cool. I never get mail. Handwrite them and send it to them. It's amazing. And then follow up with the connection with your resume cover letter. Yes, you will need to learn how to write a professional business memo. It's like this, but a little bit longer. And ask again who in the company would be considered the hiring manager for that department that interests you the most, and ask for the referral. It's just asking. People are willing to help. Trust me, you'd be amazed at how many people that are working at a company go, oh, this person approached me, and they, their resume kind of looks pretty good for being someone who doesn't read resumes. Maybe I will send it off, and who knows? Maybe it'll help the hiring manager. All it takes is 6 seconds for them to say yay or nay and then move on. So you'd be surprised how many people will help you, and you'll get better at it. Just keep repeating the steps. It's Backdoor Way on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is phenomenal resource, and if you don't find people or have issues trying to find contacts on LinkedIn, like let's say, or even emails or things like that, you go on Google. There are so many the email finder browsers for Chrome. There's free stuff out there you can use to find emails. Information is out there. Once we started going gung-ho, when we started having events and people were posting 150 attendees contact information on these lists and then posting them out in the world, these things got through to Google. And I mean, you'd be surprised how many lists of information are out there with people you're trying to target and their contact information. So again, you can, I hate to keep saying it, but after the call, if you need me to explain a little bit more, it's fine. But just think in terms of, get the list, find someone, reach out to them, ask them for referral for someone above or below or sideways to them that is in your targeted department, in the targeted department, in the world you're going to be living in. That's one quick background, a Backdoor Way. There's plenty others I've seen, and I've actually, a couple of these books I've written that we've kind of dive into more of these workarounds. It's called the hidden job market. So if you go on Google, just type in hidden job market and take an hour and you'll see. There are people that preach this stuff. It's fun for us because we like to think outside the box. And as soon as we do, we want to tell everybody about it. And then we post something. So you'll find some information out there about the hidden job market. So all you got to write in there. Best practices. Okay, so for the webcam, I thought this was kind of interesting. First off, just act like you're in a regular interview. Let's not make this like, oh my God, I got to do this on the video. Like this should not be something you get scared about. Don't worry about acting different. The key is that you want to be exactly how you are in real life as you will be on the phone, on the email, on the tone in your voice when you're dealing with them at any point of the phase. So they're already establishing a character that you are and a candidate that you are. So just act like your normal self, because up until that Zoom call, you've been your normal self, whether it was on the phone or on an email when you're applying to these jobs. So my biggest takeaway as a recruiter, when I used to do recruitment with the hiring managers in the rooms, is that they want you to be the candidate. They don't want you to not be. When you come in an interview, they are as excited about it as you are, because they're like, we can get over this job opening and move on. I don't remember how many times my hiring managers would just throw the resume and say, I don't have time for this. And come get me at the end of the day. And then I go to the end of the day and they're busy. They are working operational projects. They are working numbers and have managers to report to. So when a gap is open and there's a job opening, they have to stop what they're doing, go look at a bunch of resumes, go pull in a bunch of interviews, go and talk to the recruiter about all these people, and then go and actually do the interviews, and then go and talk about the interviews, and then go in HR and see if they can get the right rate. I mean, there's a lot of work to hire someone. It's not a quick overnight thing. So trust me, if you got the interview, go in there with freaking confidence and know that you are the one that for the job, because they wouldn't have you in the room if you weren't. So know that. I get so passionate about that. But anyway, as far as technical stuff with the Zoom, I'm as new as everyone else. I remember using this thing called Skype, which was like way back in 2018. And like, I don't know where they went. I'm assuming Skype got bought out by somebody, or I don't even know, but I feel bad for them because they really didn't hit hard on what's happening right now. I shouldn't feel bad. I mean, their company, who cares? But I don't know what they did. They were not ready for this, but Zoom all of a sudden just took over. But so for Zoom stuff, I would say, same outfit you'd wear in the interview, which is always one up. And I'll say that everyone since 1957 has said this, but it makes sense. If I'm a welder, I'm wearing a polo. If I'm a hiring manager, if I'm a manager of a welder, I'm wearing a dress shirt, maybe no tie. If I'm the leadership of the welding division, I'm wearing a suit. You see what I mean? You're never wearing the welding outfit. You don't show up in an interview with a hazmat outfit on, or a t-shirt with Guns N' Roses 2018 reunion tour. This isn't the time or place. So I once had a guy, Conrad Kinsey. This guy was a CMM, which is quality, AutoCAD, which is design, and CNC, which is machining. All three don't relate. All three are like three different beings. And this guy somehow was a master at all three. Found him for Ford for a year-long contract, paying like $90 an hour, because they had all these old Telemechanique PLCs that they got inherited and they were going to use from Detroit. And this was in Cleveland when I used to work in Cleveland. And so they got like 10 of these Telemechanique machines. I found this guy in some rural area of Columbus, Ohio, got him to move to Cleveland for this contract. And he shows up to the first interview with leather pants, a black shirt with his hair showing out of his chest, and an Italian necklace with the little horn on it. And I'm like, oh man, this guy's the best. Like I thought it was awesome. And my manager goes, what the hell? You didn't tell him how to dress right. I'm like, I don't know. He thought he would know how to dress. So take it serious, because you cannot turn off the interviewee. Luckily, or the interviewer, you can't turn them off. Just dress one up and then you're safe. You don't have to think about it. But luckily Conrad got the job because he was that good and they knew he was that big of a gem. So didn't matter. Conrad will always be my anomaly. But please dress right. And then be cordial. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you regarding your open requisition. And then shut up. Over talking will kill you. Going back to the same project, like beating a dead horse, don't. I don't care if it's the best thing you ever did and you made $1 million for your company. Say it once and move on. Let's go to the next project and then the next one. The interview's about pain points. They're in there because they have pain. They have a need. They need that need filled. That they need that need to go away. So you're the answer. So make that known. Make it known that you know why that job's there. You've read the news. You've monitored the stock, or you've seen people on LinkedIn talking. If you're going to go above and beyond to try to get into a Google, you better play the game and really figure out why that opening's there. Because if you do, and you can wow them by telling them how you're not only going to fill it, but you're going to not let that happen again for that opening to be there to begin with. Whether it was to save a project, maybe the opening's there because the person got fired because they they couldn't save a customer that was important. Whatever, you're the one who's going to be the problem solver, and it goes back to the value. You are going in the interview room, you're telling them, wow, I have all this value to give you. And look at all these specific pain points you have and how I can offset those with my abilities to come in and transition into this role. That's going to be your biggest, that's kind of what I train all my clients when we're doing interview training. I'm kind of giving you the long end of it real quick, but what it comes down to is identify why they have the opening, try to identify any way that you can, make value for that opening. And again, don't revisit the same projects. Monotony, redundancy, dragging stuff out, being too casual. I once got declined a recruiter job at Progressive because I dropped the D word. All I said was damn during the interview, and it was casually, and they're Progressive's out of Cleveland. I don't know if you guys know that. Flo doesn't live in Cleveland, but they're out of Cleveland. So like their headquarters is right down the street from me. And I was like, I'm going to work there. And I was so excited. I had such a rapport with this person. And then my recruiter goes, did you swear during the interview? And I was like, I think I said damn at the end. And they go, yeah, that they declined you because of that. I was like, are you kidding? So, and I didn't even think of it because it was just, we were so casual. We were like, oh, we're chummy at the end. You don't get chummy ever. The hiring manager is not your friend, nor will they ever be, probably, because they're in HR and everyone hates us. But you need to not ever get casual. Always be professional on an interview. That's it. I got about 8 minutes until I got to get on a call with Singapore. No, that's not that important. It's for a resume writer opening. But I got FAQs. Did you want me to run through those?
You know what? You don't have very much time, and there's a lot of questions that came through. But if anyone has a question, please private message me. But we did have a slew of questions that came in. The first one is, do you recommend any job boards, Matt?
Yes, actually, I am a big LinkedIn and Indeed guy. I like the fact that everyone's on there and they market really well and everyone knows where they are. So it's like the old monster career builder days are kind of over because they abused it a little bit. They didn't really know how to kind of be a partner with the hiring managers and the HR teams. I kind of lived through it all. And not only that, they were pricey as heck. And you had everyone in the world coming to you now because everyone was allowed in. It's kind of like that ladders.com commercial where everyone's allowed in on the tennis court. It's exactly, so they'll stay away from Monster and Career Builder. Those will get you nothing. But Indeed is phenomenal because it's an aggregator, so it pulls jobs from everywhere, puts them in a nice little list for you, and you can start applying. And then LinkedIn, I live on it because of my business. If you are someone that's remotely professional, I'm talking like even if if you're a warehouse supervisor, you might not think that you're in this quote unquote business world, but you are. Get on there because LinkedIn is going to be a spot where not only they have job openings, but again, chatter. People love talking about their jobs and their companies. And I couldn't tell you how much in the know I am just going on there every night for my marketing kind of stuff and seeing conversations. Those two are the best.
Do you recommend post-interview follow-up thank you email or a follow-up thank you email? Do you recommend post-interview thank you emails?
Yes, so I always like follow-ups. Again, I would stick to a letter though. I like the handwritten idea for a follow-up, whether it's a career fair, interview, any sort of follow-up. But yeah, absolutely best practice is a follow-up. I believe, I wonder if I had that in here. I actually just wrote an article about follow-up letters. So I can even, again, tons of these resources I can post for everyone to kind of click on.
Great,
we'll find a forum for that, but yeah, absolutely. And I can even give samples out too of actual.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, and we'll let everybody know how they can get in touch with you in a few minutes. I know you have 5 minutes left, so I'll just ask one more question so that we can touch base on how to get in contact with you. How should I handle unemployment gaps? That was kind of a question multiple people had, so I figured we'd jump in and ask that.
Yeah, with the gaps, few techniques. I won't go overboard as I wrote here because as a resume writer, I got 1,000 ways of kind of once I see a candidate and how I'm going to present them. Not every two is the same. Sometimes, obviously, but they're similar. But the two immediate ones I thought of today is drop the months, quickest and easiest solution. If it's 2012 and then you were off for 3 months in 2012 and then you got a new job in 2012, why have June to October on there? Just have 2012 to 2012. So immediately there's no gap. Even if it was 2011 in December when you lost your job and you started one in January of 2012, that's not enough gap to concern a recruiter. So drop the months is my immediate kind of go-to what I do. Second is, the functional. So the 3 types of resumes: functional, chronological, and combinational. Each of them are specific to your situation, and not every one of you I can give you a direct answer as to you need this kind of. I'd have to see what you're doing and where you want to go to decide that. But if you have a real choppy work history, I've done the setup where you would have that key contributions, and you would subcategorize those. So maybe you'd have quality assurance, and you'd have 3 lines. Project management, 3 lines. Customer relations, 3 lines. Whatever relates to the world you're trying to get into. And then below that, I would just have professional work history. List the titles, the company, and the city and state if you want. But instead of listing dates at each end of those, in that master header where it says work history, put in parentheses 1999 to present, and let them know you've been working for 20 years. Here's your work history, but without specific dates. That's a little bit of a workaround. They kind of catch on to that though, and recruiters will ask you flat out when they G2 you. G2 is an old word, just meaning when they kind of interview you. They're going to find out right away, like, hey, what years are what? So at least you can get into that conversation with them though, and maybe wow them on the prereq, so then they'll put you in front of the hiring manager. But again, it's going to come back. It's just a matter of how far can you get with them, before they're going to make it an issue, because they might not even care by the time they're done. By the time you're done wowing them. Try to think in terms of a functional layout or combinational if it's an absolute mess.
And a follow-up to that is 2 people messaged about this. Is there a recommended length and then the number of years that you should detail? So if someone has 30 plus years of experience, how many years do you recommend they go back, and how's that? I guess that would dictate the recommended length of the resume.
So I would say first and foremost, 10 years is the most relevant. 7 to 10 years is what you want to focus on. Having said that, if you got nuggets from the 90s that you want to get in there, use that key contribution section. Don't write IBM 1990 to 1999 on your resume. Leave it as a previous work history or take it off completely, but keep those couple gems that are really good and keep them on the resume, either under the key contributions or filter some of those buzzwords into the skills. Okay. That's one method. But again, keeping in mind 10 years is most relevant. Page length doesn't matter. Everybody scrolls these days. You got to remember that. Everyone scrolls. So I don't want to see over 2 pages. I'll tell you that much right now, unless you're in academia and you have a CV style where you got to write out presentations, or maybe you're a scientist that has to do all these kind of publications and that kind of stuff, and they want to see that. That would be the extreme. Federal resumes I do are 10 pages sometimes. We're talking very niche, specifically requested types of documents. 9 out of 10 of you are whether you're an accountant, a manager, a salesperson, a product manager, quality assurance specialist, a truck driver, whatever. 1 to 2 pages is always best. Having said that, if you got 30 years experience and you are wanting to do the same exact thing you've been doing for 30 years, and you've got decent work history, it's not bad. You could go into 2 pages most likely, because you've got such great things to show and whatever. You got 30 years at one job and you want to do something completely new, you're going to have 1 page, because now you're just trying to transferable skills at the whole freaking resume. You're just trying to say, here's how I can fit into this new world. Right. You're not going to bore them with 2 pages, because they're not going to care about what the heck you did as a production supervisor if you're trying to be a bookkeeper now. There's no catch-all question for any of this, because everyone's customized, everyone's different. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, 1 or 2 pages, don't go over that unless you're in academia or government or some research thing that in your industry, everyone else has this stuff. So I better keep it on there. Outside of that.
Thank you so much. I heard your alarm go off. I know you have another workshop to host.
I know, it was my fault because I was on Eastern. I totally.
That's okay. That's my fault. Central Standard Time. You're on a totally different time zone. Should have made that really abundantly clear. That's my fault.
We could do another one.
This has been the most informational resume workshop I have ever attended. I've been to many of them, as I mentioned to you. I worked at a job center in Chicago, and this is by far the best resume workshop I have attended, and the most thorough with a limited amount of time that you had. You covered a lot, so we can't thank you enough from Assyrian Community Fund. And how do we find you? How can we contribute to what you're doing? You know, obviously I pulled a lot of gems from this, and I've been to resume workshops over and over again, and I wrote some detailed notes here. So is there a way that we can help you write a review just to give back to you in some capacity? Can we follow you? What do we do for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. And thank you for all the kind words. I actually live, you know, my world is on jobstickers.com. That's my blog. So it's like pot stickers, but job stickers, which 10 years ago was like real innovative. I was so excited about that. But I just kept it so it's easy. If you go there, that's my blog. That will guide you to my website, essentially, like that my blog's on my website. So you'll see my email there. Just pop me an email, or my company, MJW Careers, which is kind of like, I'm never going to remember that. It's on Facebook and like Instagram and LinkedIn.
Yes, and it will be on our Facebook, on the Assyrian Community Fund Facebook page.
Oh, cool.
We're definitely going to feature this on there and make sure that they know where to go to reach you for your services.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that'd be my Facebook is kind of like my trying to get my likes up thing. So that's my main one. If anyone wants to like the Facebook page, that's plenty for me.
Okay, we can definitely do that.
Cool.
Definitely do that. So everybody go like MJW Careers on Facebook.
Yeah, and reach out, email me directly, and just mention this. And I have no problem giving away some goods, you know, some templates. I'll give you a resume template if you want to fill it out on your own, that kind of stuff. So I'm not trying to make money off of this. So let me know you're from this and you get some freebies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Matt. We really appreciate all your time and giving back during this pandemic. We appreciate you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
There's a couple thank yous coming through for you from the chat. So
fantastic. And everyone be safe out there. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Talk to you soon, Matt. Thanks. Take care.
Bye,
Bye
guys.
everyone.
Thank you.